Hi everybody, Kimberly, Starfish Designs Embroidery here. Let me clean up this tiny little mess from the last video. I'm doing two videos tonight, but I separated them out so y'all wouldn't be bored watching one. This video is on the lined key fob pouch. Now I'm getting ready to release a new version, a new style, and I already have the video on YouTube for the unlined version. And I've had a lot of people ask for a video on the lined version. So this is the rectangular shape, but the instructions are exactly the same for the rectangular and the triangular. I have my cast of characters here. I have my vinyl, my zipper, and my fabric. This is very skinny because I'm doing the narrow one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get my file loaded up here. Normally I would do that off camera, but I'm going from one video to the other today. And hopefully the lighting is better for us. I've rearranged the sewing room. I have another lamp here. Alright, so I'm going to go load up another file. I'm going to have to rotate this. Alright. We're going to run our placement stitch. I'm going to use purple, like I always use purple or whatever dark color because it shows up better on the camera. And I'm going to have to get the ribbon, but this is one of the new, I don't know if it's special. Oh my gosh, you can see it. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? It's actually not too thick. It's the metallic. Oh my goodness, it's so amazing. And I had this scrap fat quarter or fat 8 from many years ago. Might have even been a fat 16. It actually matches perfect. So this one is going to be for my spray essential oil bottle. It's almost that time of the year where I'm going to have to deal with skeeters. Make sure my zipper's long enough. I happen to have this one sitting here and it's the right color. So at my son's game, I'm very sensitive to chiggers. And there's lots of them in the grass and mulch, and they eat me alive. So I like to use an essential oil blend. Okay, so there we go. And I'm trying really hard to make sure you all can actually see what I'm doing. I did not have good experience on the double zip bag, so I have to redo that video. Now, my table is up taller than me because I am a shorty. So I actually need to stand up so I can line the zipper up. So I can look down on it and make sure it's in between those lines. For my case, it's going to be straddling the lines. Now, we've talked about this in other videos before. Not all zippers are created equal. Most 3-inch zippers have a 1-inch tape. They're supposed to at least, and they don't all. So I go ahead and add that extra line in the middle so you can make sure you can fold that back and make sure that middle of your zipper tape is lining up with that line. And I can see it's not off. The neater you make this step, this zipper is not a nice enough quality one, I can tell right now because it's rippling. So I'm going to try and force it down. But the neater you make this step, the neater your zipper is going to be. I had somebody, bless their heart, message me on Etsy and asked if all of the sizes of the Ultimate Wallet have curved zippers. And I was like, what is she talking about? That doesn't have a curved zipper. I have not mastered that yet. It's on my list, people, but I haven't got it yet. And then I looked closer at my sample photo, and it just never really stood out to me that I didn't place my zipper well, so when it sewed, it got a little curvy, and I can tell already that's a sign of a bad quality zipper. You guys can't see this, but this is really thin, and so it's going to come along here and sew, and it's going to ripple. And I think on that file, I did not have the stabilizing stitches, and I since realized that I get a better result if I tack down the zipper, and that way it doesn't move around when you're adding your pieces, because that's what was happening. I'm adding the lining on the back and the front, and the zipper bunched up, and so it made it look like it was curved even though it wasn't. And I've seen enough test stitch outs to see that I'm not the only one who had that issue. Okay, again, we're not going to worry about the tape because it's going to tear right off. So, and again, we're not going to worry about the color. You're using whatever color matches your material. The colors are changed in the file to force machine stops. If I did not keep pressing reserve stop on my multi-needle here, it would just keep going and stitch every stitch. Well, at least until I got past 6 colors. Now, I am going to try and start doing a few more demos using the smaller machines, especially now that I have the sewing room reconfigured, so that I can actually have my cutting machine and that new Brother PE 770, new to me, that I got up here next to me. So I'm going to do a few more demos on that, because that looks more like what you guys have, right? You know, I shouldn't say you guys, because last time I did the survey or the poll, I was quite impressed at how many people have multi-needle machines. I was like, wow, that's a lot of people. I don't know if I'm attracting people with multi-needle machines in my group, or if we just all have so much fun with these that we don't mind spending the thousands of dollars on them. I mean, let's face it, for most of us, this is our hobby. I started as a hobby. I had no intention of doing this as a business. I got my first one because I was tired of not being able to do kid stuff. And that's all I like doing. I like being that person in my group of family and friends who people go to when they need a birthday t-shirt or something like that. So here I am, almost 2 years later. All because my Bernina 180E, bless her heart, could not handle doing dense stitching. I now know that was really bad quality digitizing that I saw. Okay, so we are ready to do our first lining. Did I just ajar the camera? I did not. Good. And I saved this tape because I can use it. So we're going to take one of our, in this case, skinny pieces. There's a wrong side and a right side. And I'm going to keep my placement here. So we're always going to be working left first, right second. I shouldn't say always, but most of my files I end up doing it that way. Or bottom first, top second. So my frame here is turned around. So when I go to the back, I want to make sure I'm on this side. So we're going to put this, it's going to have to be on this side when we do it, but that's the fold over, so we're going to line it up here. And you can see that underneath there. So I'll show you in a second here. So when you turn it over, you're going to line up, you're going to put it face down against this leftmost zipper on the back. It's going to look like the leftmost zipper. And on the front it's going to as well. And you will see when you put the front piece down that they cover each other up. And I really should get stock in this pink tape because I go through so much. I will tell you this, some stabilizers are better than others at releasing the pink tape. Okay. And nope, I did it backwards. See, it's a good thing I did. It's going to line up on the right side. So, but see how when I turned it over, I knew it was wrong because it should be covering over here on the back. I'm sorry. I'm doing this from memory because I don't have the PDF open. So, obviously my memory's not that good, right? You all can say it. Admit it. It's not. In my defense, I have sleep apnea. Okay, so right side down, aligned with the right edge of the zipper on the back. On the front, it's going to be the left edge. Now, see how we have that covered? And I may have cut these a little narrow. It's going to fold over. I don't have much seam allowance. I'm going to butt mine up a little bit. I was trying to be frugal with my fabric, and I cut it just a little narrow. So just go ahead and line it up there. I'm going to line it up with my tack down line. And it's plenty enough because it's 1/2 inch from the middle of the zipper to the edge of the zipper tape. Okay, so that looks better. So it's going to fold over and cover there. Now we're going to take our vinyl or your other fabric, and we're going to line it up face down, pretty side down with this. And I mentioned before, the first person I ever heard use that term pretty side is Vanessa. Her last name just escaped me. Crafty Gemini. Oh, I should know her last name. I've been following her for a long time. And I was like, the first time she said pretty, I was like, pretty side? What is that? But I hear a lot of people use it now. And I'm telling you, my girl Vanessa, she's the one who started it. She coined that term. I'm giving her credit for it. I've been doing this for a long time. All right, there we go. And the reason I bring her up, again, make sure I put it back on here. Look at your screen. Well, you guys don't have, if you have a single needle, but I need to make sure I put it back on here right. The reason I bring her up is she's opened a brick and mortar store in Florida where she lives. And I'm like so excited for her. I was like, wow, that is like so awesome. And I'm going to use white so you guys can see it. Because it just exudes from her that she's just really great. And I'm really close to my zipper head. Make sure you use a bigger zipper. And in the instructions, I say you want to use a zipper that's 2 inches longer. But I just happen to have this one sitting here, so I used it. Okay, so take off your tape. When you're doing cloth, you can actually even use pins and pin it through to the other side. Okay. See there? And I'm upside down. I'm sorry. I keep turning it around on you guys. I should have laid it in there the right other way. And again, you're going to press this back with your fingers as much as you can. And if you need to get out a pressing tool, okay, I just had that tool for the last video. There it is. One of these little doohickeys. Then you can do that and press it. I find most of the vinyl will behave itself if you just use your fingers. Okay, and we're going to flip to the other side, and we're going to flip the back open. And that's white bobbin. I should switch to black so you can't really see the stitch, but it's right there. I'm going to flip this open. And I have plenty of seam allowance. It's hard to guesstimate when you're looking at it that way, but I actually have more than enough. I didn't need to butt that up. Okay. I'm going to tape this down, and on these back pieces, make sure you tape down these little corners because they like to come loose while you're stitching. Again, we need to all buy stock in whatever tape we use. Now, if you all have watched me before, you're probably bored hearing some of this stuff. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to do the top stitch. But, I read a lot that people use that micro pour the tape, and I tried that. I'm looking underneath to make sure it didn't come loose. I tried that, and just in my experience, it left residue on the vinyl. So cloth, maybe it's fine, but I did not like it on the vinyl. So I prefer this pink stuff. The blue painter's tape works good too, but I don't get as many uses out of it. There's another tearaway that I like for bag making, especially if it's going to get stuck in the bag, and that is Pellon 360. Now that one, see how nice that looks? That one will not let you use the pink tape more than once. It has a little bit of a residue that pulls over, and so it's not going to work for you. Okay, now we're going to do the other side of the zipper. We're going to line up the pretty side down along this side of the zipper. And again, this is all detailed in the PDF. So you just follow along in the PDF and you're going to be good. And don't even ask me how I bowed this out, but it's okay. It is quite okay. And I'm not taking the tape off the other side right now because even though it's tacked down, if it comes loose, it can get bunched up underneath that needle bar. Now, I don't have that happen as often when I don't have the table on here. But for some reason with the table on here, if there's any fabric to get loose, it'll get loose. So I'm going to use these little corner pieces here. And you want to make sure that there's a little bit of tautness to this, because imagine if you were sewing this in a regular sewing machine, you would have pins holding that in place. So you want the fabric to have a little tautness. You don't want it to be loosey-goosey. So we're going to tape it down over here. When it's loosey-goosey, that is when you're going to get, your seams are not going to look clean. There we go. And I'm making sure I put this back in the right direction. Make sure nothing came loose underneath there, and it did. See, I didn't tape that one corner down. There we go. And up till now, this is very much how you would do it in a sewing pattern. And if you watch my bag that I did the live video for, the pyramid bag, you would see that. So the lining and the front on opposing sides of the zipper. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to do the same thing as we did before. We're going to see in this tape, I don't know if you can tell, there's residue on it from this vinyl. So it's not probably going to give me as good of a stitch the next time. I'm probably only going to be able to use that. Excuse me. This one more time. Sorry about that. And that's just because that particular vinyl has like a flannel background on it. So it's just not as, ooh, this one actually tore it. Wow, did you see that? That's the first time I've ever had that happen. It actually tore the fabric up. I'm sorry, the stabilizer. I've never had that happen. I think we're good though. It's in the middle, so I think it'll be fine. Okay, and again, we're going to finger press the seam with her finger. Can you see that? I think maybe I should have had the bright light on this side. Okay, I'm going to tape this down. Tape these corners down. And again, we want this to be slightly taut. We don't want anything loosey-goosey. Okay, this came loose over here. Let me tape that down. Make sure I have this in the frame the right way. Put it back up here. Nothing came loose. And then we're going to use this. All right. Always be mindful of where your zipper pull is at. On the smaller bags, I do try to be mindful and put travel stitches, but I can't test every single machine to know how wide your presser foot is. So pay attention, and if it looks like your zipper pull is going to be in the way, stop your machine and move it, and continue. Okay, now the next step is going to be the reinforcement of our zipper. So, and see, this tape came loose on here. That happens sometimes. I don't know where that came from. I think we're good though without it. Okay, so there's the back. Nice and neat. Okay, so I'm going to pull the zipper pull down into the middle. I'm getting some fresh tape because that tape is not doing good. You want to create a bridge over these little ramps. See how that is? Your presser foot would get hung up on that. So on the back, and you want to do it right where the stitch ends, because this is the outline. I'm not going to go past this on my stitching. So I'm going to put a piece of tape down here. Now on this machine I would not have this issue. I'm showing it to you because I would have this issue on my other ones. The other benefit here is, since I just moved this zipper pull out of the way, see how loosey-goosey this is now? And it could separate. And that'll look really terrible when we go to put our key fob hardware on there. So that's the other benefit, is this helps keep that zipper tape together so that it doesn't do that for the next step. So it's just a reinforcement step. So because this is so skinny, I do have a travel stitch in here. You'll see that. It's going to stitch down here. It's going to come over here and do a stitch. And then here, because I'm trying to avoid this here on your machines. Again, make sure that nothing comes loose underneath. Make sure your zipper pull is in the middle. We're almost done. And it's okay if it goes over the tape. You can pull that tape out. If for some reason you have trouble getting the tape out, you could use a Q-tip with a little bit of rubbing alcohol or something, and it'll help to dissolve that glue. Just make sure you do it on a test piece of the vinyl to make sure it doesn't damage the vinyl. Alrighty. Now, I'm going to go ahead and remove this tape, because I don't want that to get caught in our final stitch. Check your zipper pull. Make sure it's out of the way of where your presser foot's going to be. Oh, I can't get that tape out. I can pull mine zipper pull down more, and I'm going to, because it's going to make it easier to turn. But if your foot is that wide, then you need to make sure it's going to clear it. Do I have a foot here somewhere I can show you what I mean? I don't think I do. I just know on some of the machines, like my Janome, the presser foot is really big and wide. So it's going to get stuck on things more than on the other machines. On my Bernina, it had a round pole, round one like that. Not quite as narrow as that, but still kind of small. Yeah, actually I do. Okay, this is almost the same size as what's on my Janome. And, oh, why do I have this thread here? Okay, so this is, can you see that better? This is a free motion, or yeah, it's a free motion for my Lily machine. So imagine, okay, I'm going to put this all the way down here. Imagine I have this zipper all the way down here. Right there's the zipper pull. And your foot's coming along here. And it's trying to stitch right here. Is it going to do that? Is it going to hit? No, it's not going to be able to stitch. There's the opening. it's going to get stuck on there. So that's what I mean. Be mindful of your machine and your equipment and where this is going to fit. This, I can't even show you because it's so tiny. This thing is like a 1/4 inch wide. This is a time if you want. I don't find it necessary, but if you want to carefully cut through your stabilizer, you can do that now. There's no fabric on the back yet because we're just doing our, so you can carefully put a slit in there if you want. And there's a slit. Okay, we're going to put our backing on here. And I did not tape down my zipper pull. I didn't find it was necessary. But you may need to. Again, because we're talking about that your foot going across it. I'm just using a little tape because this vinyl is hanging down okay. Again, I'm going to make sure my bottom doesn't come off kilter because it's been down there for a little while. Okay, we're going to run. This is the final step. You want to match your material. I'm going to do black because these last 2 steps, you might see a tad bit of that thread when you turn it inside out. And I opted for a double run for reinforcement versus a bean stitch. A bean stitch takes 1 stitch back and forth, back and forth, back and forth 3 times. And it's fine. That's what we do for our stamp tabs because it's cute. But it's not necessary in bag making. And I'm starting to learn more and more. Some of my early patterns, I did that. And see, this did actually come loose because the tape came. That was what I was talking about earlier. Okay, there we go. Now we're ready to put the backing on. So I'm going to clear away all this tape. I wonder if there's a humidity issue in this room because this tape is sticking to this stabilizer, and I've never had this happen before. This is a brand new roll I just opened though. But no, I've never had this happen. It's literally tearing the stabilizer off. Okay, now we're going to take our back, and I ended up cutting mine a little bit narrow, so I'm actually going to fold it in half and make some crease marks and line that up with the center zipper tape. You see what I'm doing? I'm just making a little crease mark here with my fingernail, and then I can line that up. See my center tape, my center zipper? Can you see that? And I can line it up with that, and that way I know it's centered over the material. So there's a crease, there's a crease. It's on the center. All right, I'm good. Oh, actually, it ended up being okay. When I taped it, I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. You know, when you cut the material and it's folded over and you don't realize that the under piece wasn't going all the way across. That was this. And I didn't want to waste the material that I'd already cut for it. Okay, I'm actually just going to use those 2 pieces because this is the last step. So I think it's going to be okay. I'm just going to carefully place it back on the hoop so it doesn't come loose. And I'll check underneath. And it's fine. And if you are using cloth, you could actually put some pins down the center right through there. Okay, now this last one is going to come over here. It's going to take a couple back tacks, and then it's going to go all the way around and leave an opening for you to turn it. And I'm not going to show you how to install the key fob hardware. I did not bring that with me, and I have the new plates from Cam Stamps I want to test and play with. So, but there's already a video on how to do that. So here we go. It's all done. It's all done here. Remove all your tape. And I think that this bag is actually probably a little pushing it for the key fob. And actually, I made this for myself. I meant to put a loop in it. The reason why I made the narrow, as I mentioned earlier, is because I want this to put my essential oil spray bottle in. So I actually want to be able to just hang it inside my bag so it doesn't get all loosey-goosey in there. And this is actually a really good option if you have medicine that you have to keep with you, like your inhaler. I don't know about you guys, but my inhaler's always fallen inside my bag. I only need it once in a while. I have adult onset asthma, and it's really usually only a problem in the winter. So I don't use that inhaler, so I'm not used to keeping it with me, and it just gets all messed up in my backpack. So with something like this with the loop, I can hang it inside the backpack, and it's going to be there when I need it. Okay, so now we're going to trim about a 1/4 inch. I can't see it on this side, so I'm going to do it from this side. But before I do that, I can't show you because I have white bobbin tape or bobbin thread. But I'm going to, let me see if I can move this over so you can see it better. Okay, I think you can see right here. Yeah. See, there's an opening there. I'm going to notch this so that it's easier to turn and close it back up after we're all done. So what I mean is I can barely see on this side because of the thread, but I can see enough to notch it. So I'm going to notch it. Ooh, this is actually kind of hard to cut. It's not nipping easily. I'm going to notch over here. And then I can go ahead and start cutting my 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it on this side up to that point of the notch. And then I'm going to turn it over because you'll be able to see it better from the black side. Okay, so there's that little notch. Okay, now on this side, well, you can't because I used black. That was stupid. I should use white for the demonstration. I am so sorry, you guys. But anyway, I'm just cutting about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. Here's my seam, 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. You guys know how to do this. I don't need to bore you with this. So I'm going to go off screen for a second and do this so I can get it done faster. And we could have trimmed this zipper tape. I forgot to do that. You can trim it out when you do the basting stitch, after you do that basting stitch. And curve around the curve. And now we're back to where we started on this side with the notch. So I'm going to come on down here. Now the notch, we only need the notch in the lining. We can trim away the vinyl from the notch. So I'm going to pull this lining back like that, and then I'm going to trim away this vinyl like that. Okay? Now, here is the trick. You want to get into this corner, and I'm so sorry this is hard to see because it's black. And we're going to go in about 45 degrees, and not, you don't want to cut into the seam allowance. This vinyl is actually kind of hard to cut into with these scissors. I need my other scissors. All right, but you can see there, I think. You see that notch? Yep, you can see it. So you do about 45 degrees from either side, and you put a little notch there. And that is how you get that corner to snitch out. You don't want to cut into this seam. Then on these little corners, cut those off. Again, don't cut into the seam allowance. Just trim that little nick. Now in the curves, you can do tiny little notches. And this is not, wow, I need the other scissors. I normally don't like to use these too much for my vinyl, but these are snippers are better than those ones. Oh, much better. Okay, can you see that? So just go into the curve and do tiny little triangles. And what that does, you're removing that vinyl so that it allows that seam to fold back and lay open. It makes a huge difference in getting that curved edge. It's not utterly important. You can just trim it closer, like 1/8 of an inch. I personally don't like to go that tiny on my seam allowance because if it tears, there's no way to repair it. And like I did on this side, and I'm not liking that. Okay. Now this is a tall, skinny one, so it's going to be a little bit harder to turn. But go in between the lining. And I find it's easier if you try and get one of these corners to come through first. So pull this little corner and try and, this is unwieldy because it's long and tall. Let me see if I can get you guys over here and see if it's a little better with the lighting. Sorry. That's not. I will figure out the best lighting for this room eventually. Was that better? For you to see what I'm doing. I'm sorry. Giving you guys whiplash or something. You see better there? Yes, you can. Let me move this stuff out of the way. Okay. Sorry about that. If I was one of those fancy YouTube people, I would figure out how to edit the video and get that out of there. But I'm not one of those fancy ones. I think that's better lighting. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and try and pull from one of the corners into the, and get that out. So this is when choosing the right vinyl for a project makes a big makes sense. This actually felt like it was really pliable, but once I started turning, okay, it's actually not bad. I'm lying. It's actually, it feels really stiff, but it's actually turning. It's not bad. Okay, so I got the one corner started through. Now, let me see. It's harder for me to see. Wait, I'm showing you guys this direction, and then do the same thing. Pull the other corner through. Ah, come on through. All right, there we go. Now we got that through. Now we can go ahead and start working down here to get the rest of it through. And you just play with it and it'll come through. I bought those hemostats. I read good things about them. They came while I was sick in bed with the flu. I have no idea where I put them. No clue. I need to find them. So I order so much stuff. It's sad. There's bags and boxes all over the place. Okay, so just be gingerly with this because you don't want to tear it. I mean, I do put some back stitches in the lining, but still, you need to be careful with the turning it because it will tear. Okay, so we got most of that out. So I'm going to go ahead and cut back this tear away on the zipper. And with that middle thread in there, it just pulls, you can pull it right out. It goes right down the middle and tears it away. Now on the lined bag, you want to try and get that stabilizer out a little bit more than you did in the unlined bags. And it usually comes right out because it's been torn so much on both ends. So just get as much of it out as possible. And again, it just comes right out. I have a little bit stuck in there. Okay, and then now you can turn it out right side out through the zipper and then clean up your lining. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and push this out back through the zipper. And this is when you really get into pushing your corners out and everything. So you're going to have a hole in that lining to use. So you want to get inside there and use your fingers and your chopsticks or pokey devices that you have. Get all that turned out inside the lining. And this is long, and narrow, so it's not as easy as the wider ones. But just keep working on it, just like you did the first time. Turn it out and you'll get it. Now I can go ahead and open my zipper up more, and that makes it much easier. All right, and see how through here, trying to do it through the lining, I'm not getting as good of a grip on it. So if I go behind the lining, I can get my finger in there and get it out. And then this is where your hemostats, or I like to use the blunt edge of this tweezers, and you can get in there. Again, you're going underneath this lining. And are you guys seeing me here? Because I can't get a good view this way. Yeah, I think you are. In the lining. And see how it's coming out there? Don't push too hard, because you'll push right through. Right here, I need to get my finger in there more, because if I try to push with that pliers, or the tweezers, it's just going to go through. So I'm going to get in here with my finger a little bit more. So you do the block part with your fingers, and then use your chopping devices, pointy devices for the fine tuning. There we go. And then go ahead and roll the edges. By roll, I mean you kind of roll it against each other of the edges. And you are going to have a little bit of sewing to do on here. Or you're going to be like me and you're going to use some permanent tape or glue. It's buried inside there. Nobody's going to see it. So why try and hand sew that closed? Or, machine sew it. So again, I'm getting into the corners and pushing them out. Nobody said this was fast. And this is new vinyl for me, and I'm not used to, I don't know which vinyls have more durability than others. Usually if it's from my punk, it's good. But all of them have a breaking point. And if you keep pushing on it, even fabric, it's going to tear. Okay, and we're going to come back later and roll this out too. Okay, so now we're at this point here. You see, the tab is all buried in there. You cannot zip this up and put your, oh my gosh, look how cute that is. You can't put that on there right now. It's not going to look right. You've got to work out the tab so it's more. And this one actually has a longer tab, so you can do it. So just work with your fingers and get in there, and that tab will come open. Right, I'm going to put my little plier, or why do I keep calling them pliers? Tweezers. And I'm going to start pushing it on there, and it's going to come out. And you can see the little seam. Once it's up, you'll see that seam up there. And you might have to reach in with your fingers, whatever you have to do. But get that tab out. Take the extra couple of minutes. I've had a few people post about having trouble with this part and it not looking good with their key fob hardware. It's because they did not get the tab pushed all the way out. You see how already you're seeing it? Take the time to get it pushed all the way out. The smaller ones, it's much harder to do because there's simply not enough material. I can either have a long tab, or I can have, in a short key fob, or we can have a good key fob. But see, it just took a little bit of taking. You can see better on the back. A little bit of taking. Took a little bit of work, but I did it. And now look at that. Perfect. That's going to fit my spray bottle, which I would have been a smart woman and brought upstairs with me. So you could see that, but it's going to fit it. Right here's a glue stick. Put that glue stick in here. You see that? That spray bottle is about the same size as that. If you ever need glue stick anywhere, there you go. But really great. These are don't take a lot of vinyl, so it's a good stash buster. But I hope that made sense to y'all. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and open this up. And it already forms the fold down. And you put your double stick tape or your glue in there, and then just hold it in place until it dries with a clamp or something to weight it down. Since it's buried in there, nobody's going to be able to tell that's how you closed it. And it'll be permanent. I usually use the permanent double stack tape. I've tested it after, and it's always really holding. And then just keep working these edges out. And here's a little trick you can do with the vinyl. Take the edges, roll them out, and then put some of these little clover, these are not clover, these are generic, but these little clips on here all along, and let it sit overnight. And it'll leave a little mark. You can't see in this texture, but it might leave a little mark on here, but that mark will go away, and it'll help flatten out that seam for you and give you a better look. You might want to flatten it and press it with a book or whatever. But there you go. There's the tab. I'm going to put my key fob hardware on there and hang this in my book bag. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.